Okay, so I wanted to. I've been wanting to make this video, but it's been a while. But I've just been occupied with other things. And I wanted to. Occupied with other things. And I wanted to talk about working at the club. The club is a place where it's a store and it's a big box store, so that pretty much gives it away. But I don't want to go give it away. But anyways, I think it's pretty obvious what the club is. Anyways, I had worked there for almost 9 years. Wait, almost 10 years. This year, 2016. I mean 2026 would have been 10 years, and I kind of miss it. And I kind of don't when I think about all that was going on at the club. So the club, I got hired. I was like, I I got hired immediately. And um when you're when you read some the little memes online, if a job offers you the job the same day, it's a red flag. That is kind of definitely true. Um it was in Louisiana, like northern Louisiana, and it was an older building, an older place, and had been there forever, it seems like. Um, and the place needs rebuilding. Like it's the heat. It's hot in there in the summer, and it's cooler outside than it is inside. The air conditioning for a couple of years, or one summer, I remember the air conditioning. I think it was right after 2023 ish. The air conditioning broke, and it took for them forever to fix it. Um, the forklifts were always the last, the last couple of months I was there. The forklifts, it was a conundrum. I guess I'll just go through that when I get to the end of the tenure. And it's just for anybody who's ever worked at the club who want to share their experience, want to talk about it. I just wanted to get it out because I really saw a lot of crazy things at the club. But anyways, I got hired immediately. Oh, it was the older building, the ceiling would leak when it would rain. Um, certain a floor machine, certain what's the word? The floor machines would break, and then they get the new one and it would break. Um, there was a crazy stench in I think it was last year. There was a crazy stench in the break room, and they could not figure out what it was. And there was no air conditioning in the break room. Um, I don't even know if heat was an issue. But anyways, what else about that building? They were somebody was saying there was rodents eating at the concrete walls, because there'll be holes and dents in the walls, and they'll be oh yeah, because this is not rodents, or actual big rats or something like that. I forget the word, like a possum. Let's call it a country possum would come through and just try to eat out the walls. Um, the floors were so dirty, but that wasn't really a big issue until War Manager came. Oh, the meat coolers were go down all the time. There was one time last year or 2 years ago, last year, 2 years ago, the whole deli coolers were go down in temperature. You had to like take all the stuff out. It was just like crazy. So, anyways, I got hired immediately. This was back when HR was there. There was no, they got rid of HR, but there was a HR lady and set me up. This was back like 10 years ago. I think I guess um, employment places still have like, the where I'm at now, they still do like print out like a call sheet or your schedule sheet. But back then, 10 years ago, it was so crazy because that was like all the, like a whole bunch of stuff was obliterated. It was just like gone. So like you had to like look up what the system would put out your schedule, go write it down, but it was like a certain time they would only post it, and it was crazy. That was really crazy. So I got hired as like a door greeter in my beginning at the club, and a part of the door greeting, immediately I found the people to be crazy, and I think it's just like that area because I've been to other areas, and you don't feel the sense of craziness or the sense of wackadoodle that goes on, especially with the customers. Um, when I was there, when I first started there, when you the first feature or like when you first walk in, there was like a still area, and they would put water up there. It was like October, holiday time, so they had uh, clothing, uh, a still area where the clothing were, and um, immediately I got a hold of how crazy the customers were and how crazy the other employees were, my fellow co-workers. And so one lady, she was a daughter, she had been there for a while. I think most of them have been there for a while. And I one time was supposed to check. Oh, this is when we physically had to like look and scan and check the items before they walk out. The customers walk out the building. The members walk out the building, and like put a highlighter across it. And oh my gosh, I can't believe this. Um, and so one time, like I'm thinking about to chase nobody out the building. Like, let me see your receipt. Like, get out of here. So I let this lady walk out. I'm at the exit door. The crazy lady's at the front at the entrance door, and she saw me like not chase this lady. She made like a big thing about it, but she didn't say anything to me. She went and told somebody around the corner and was like, I can't believe he let somebody let yada yada walk out the door. He check is like, why don't you come over here then? But anyways, and then in the mornings as a door greeter, uh, you have to like get coffee and muffins and stuff, and you'd like get there at an earlier amount of time, set this stuff up, make the coffee. It was just like, what is this? It was just a lot. They definitely don't do that anymore. Um, get like little data dishes and stuff. I did not know how to make coffee. I was 21, and so I was like, I don't know how to make coffee. Like, what is this? That's one thing I really didn't know how to make because I'm like, I don't want to mess it up, and then I think I had to like write it down and stuff. And so one time the optical place is like right next to the door, and one time the optical lady got a little attitude with me, and she was like, don't don't rinse the coffee off in my sink because it stains the sink. And I'm like, oh my god, like you guys are all so dramatic and so ridiculous. Like, what, you don't own the sink? No, no, think about this stuff. Like, you people don't own this stuff, so who cares? And so I don't even know. I don't even remember where I would have to go to rinse the coffee off. And it was like 10 o'clock. Oh, that was for like the certain people that could get in the building before like 10 or something. That got the coffee and the stuff and stuff. And I'm just like, these people are really like, you've been here so long, you think you own this stuff. And you don't. So, anyways, I was getting sick and tired of the door, dealing with the people being at the door. I'm like, I need to get a little bit more active. So I just randomly applied for a position somewhere else in the store. Oh, and then you have to like hand out these flyers, and then I got threatened to get written up if I didn't hand out the flyers. And I'm just like, these people do not want the flyers. They're walking in. Some of them already have it. Sometimes it's already in their basket. It's just like I hated that. I hate it. It was just like so ridiculous. But I was happy to have a job. Um, it was part time, so it was just like you come in the morning or you come in the afternoon. That specific place, it really was like you could come in at 8 a.m. in the morning or 6 a.m. in the morning, and then the next day at like 7 p.m. work for like 3 hours, work for like 4 hours. It's just that the part time people, I really felt bad after. I was just so glad once I became full time because I'm like, the part time schedule is crazy. And I don't know if I guess it's sort of company slash management um, that like had like a hand in that. But I was just like, this is torture. It is ridiculous. Um, I'm trying to think of any other crazy things. Yeah, I just like got tired of handing the flyers out and checking and then the ladies at the door, they started like bickering with each other. They were just old bickering ladies, and I'm just like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta move along. So I ended up moving along, and I just randomly, I don't know what it was. I just randomly got into a the freezer area, and I got accepted. And so the manager that threatened me, right? She was turned out to be actually one of the worst managers ever in history. Like she's one of the worst people ever. She's one of the worst mother effing people managers ever. She's very nasty. She doesn't come off compassionate. And like she just like talks to you any kind of way. She has been there the longest. She needed her to retire 10 years ago. They say her husband is like an oil tycoon or something. But this one was like, if her husband was an oil something something, why the hell would she be in here working our nerves? And then you're like, yeah, you got a point. She's old. It's just like, lady, give it up. Give it up. You you run things completely different than any other manager in here, which is that also was so annoying. All these different people would come in. That's another reason why I left. They would hire anybody, and the turnover rate had to be like 100%. It had to be 100% because I'm like, every day it was somebody new. The management would, and it really wasn't like the job that would make people quit or make people leave. It would be managers. It would be the management that, like, these, in the last like 5 years, no, of last 3, 4 years, it's just like, who are these people that you guys are hiring? And then the good managers, the pretty decent managers would like leave, or they would transfer out. So it's just like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? So I'm like, yeah, that's really why another reason why I left. But that lady, like I hated her. She's horrible and just shady and nasty. I just like, you gotta get yourself together because there's no reason for you to be this nasty and angry at work. At work. Okay, so anyways, my first day, um, that I was supposed to start my new position in the store. I'm like so excited. I don't have to listen to this lady anymore. because she's like the front end manager. She was at the time. Lord Jesus, did she follow me throughout? Like, I don't even understand how that happened. But anyways, um, and at that time it was like six, seven. It was like 7, 8 managers there. Before I start my first day, I want to say how differently the shopping experience was from literally like 2 years ago. I can like point up to 2 years ago to 10 years ago when it was like a lot more things in the store. But I think COVID, um, they never recovered for whatever reason. I don't know what happened. It's so weird how they never recovered with the amount of stuff that they sell in the store, especially in my area. Let's say I think about a good 60%, 40% of stuff just like went away, and they just focused on certain key items selling it, and that made the people mad. And I could understand that too. Even like the water, like there was such a variety of water that I was like, oh, I remember I used to buy Aquafina from there. It was such a variety of water. Um, so then, oh, this thing is off. Anyway, so then, so like I don't know. Maybe it wasn't just like I'm thinking like maybe it was just the holiday time because I got hired around the holidays. I'm like, no, it wasn't just the holidays. It was like all that, even through summer. It was just like people shopping there. Like this was the only, and it like kind of still did because it kind of still is the only like club around um in that area. I think people will come from like they eventually built another one, but I don't think people like going to that city. But people will come from like I just like would hear different stories from different cities. The other closest one besides the one that they built, which was like 20 minutes away, the closest other one had to have been 45 minutes, oh no, like an hour away each way. No, an hour plus each way, one to the west and to the east. And so people were shopping there, and it would just be herds of people coming in there, and just herds of people coming in there, and just herds, and it would just be like 10 in the morning, 11 in the morning, 12 p.m., 1 p.m., like 3 p.m., like around 6. It was kind of, during the evening, it would kind of die down, but people would still be in there shopping. And it still was kind of like that because I think, like I said, it was the only like store around. But like compared to like 2 years ago, that it would be like not the volume of people would not be as massive as it was, especially during the holidays. I noticed the last couple of holidays, 4th of July, yeah, people will be in there, and then we wouldn't have the product because they wouldn't replenish the product enough, which was so crazy every holiday. Yeah, people will be in there, but they're not. Um, that's like the 4th of July was not as a big thing 10 years ago. Shopping in there, or for the holidays, they would send all this stuff in for the holidays, and then sometimes all the stuff wouldn't sell. So it was just like a weird situation going on. But anyways, my first day in the freezer section, I'm like excited. I go in, and nobody's there to train me. So the annoying manager is like, "Oh, you guys just gotta go back to the front door." And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Nobody here to train you, so just go back to the front door for the day or whatever, or tomorrow or whatever." I don't remember when. I guess the next day. Maybe somebody came that day, but I don't remember. So I end up getting finally released from the door, put into the trenches because that is one of the busiest areas ever. From zoning to putting stuff out to the amount of pallets and product that comes in, especially at that time. Um, I was just doing the dairy, the cooler, or like the the cheese and the lunch meat, potato salad, that kind of area, and they would get so many pallets in a day, and nobody was working. Some the at that time. Oh, at that time it was a overnight situation. So the overnight people were doing the freezer, and then in the morning it was like a team of like maybe 4 or 5 of us doing the cooler stuff, and it would be like 6, 7 pallets a day, along with already this tight area, along with already the amount of pallets are already in the steel, and it was not what I thought it was. Like it was like rotating stock, and it was like I switched around. I think it was like April, Mayish, March, April, May, and so that's when the holidays would come around. People would love the potato salad and the chicken salad. It was like the number one sellers over there, and trying to keep that rotated. There were so many different kinds. There was like 2 different kinds of potato salad. Keeping that stock rotated. That stuff was so heavy. I'm just like, oh my god, this stuff is so heavy. Like, why are we carrying just like 5 pounds of potato salad in a bucket, and it's like 6 buckets in a box, and you got to open the box up correctly, and you got to make sure. And this was like everything was condensed. They didn't at the they had a separate cooler at the time. Yeah, no, the separate cooler for the dairy products was like a good, what, 4 years ago. I think they were copying off other stores, other yeah, other stores, not like their stores, but other stores. But the dairy products was in there. It was like milk, butter, um, cheese, and it's just like this, and everything's so huge. It's like you could only work so much around in that area, and so I was trained to work with get the old stuff down first, and then put the new stuff up. Well, I didn't want to drive a forklift, and so it would be hell trying to get somebody. And I understand thinking about it now. Everybody had a separate job. Jobs were uh, different back then. In the club, in the club overall, from the corporate standpoint, everybody had a job, and in the mornings it would only be like people from like receiving, or maybe a manager. So all most of the managers didn't drive a forklift, which I think is ridiculous. I think you need to be able to drive a forklift if you want to be a manager now and then. Like it's especially at that place, at the club. um it would be hell trying to get a forklift in there. The only people would be there with like receiving, and it was like I can't do anything. Like I would be packed to the door with pallets because that's how much stuff would come in, and then the cafe stuff would come in on the dairy pallets, and then the deli stuff would come in on the dairy pallets, and it wasn't like separated like it was when I left. It all came all together, and it was just like holidays were around the corner at certain times. I remember it was so crazy. I remember the Puerto Rico hurricane that happened, and they were gonna send everything there, or like to like Houston or something. It was one of those. But I think it ended up affecting Puerto Rico. And so they sent, oh, it was like a Houston, it was some kind of hurricane. Houston was like 4 hours away. Dallas is like 2.5 hours away. They end up sending all of their pallets to us. We had to mark what was ours. I think one of the pallets I did on accident. It was just like a conundrum. But I was getting more hours. I think I was getting a little bit more pay. But specifically working in a fresh department, which I didn't really know until probably the last couple of years that I worked there, the fresh department pay is way higher than the people on the floor for whatever reason. I really don't know. But you know who really makes a lot of the most money in the store? Meat department, bakery, and the people that do the orders. Like if you want to come pick up an order to your house, I mean to your car, those are the people that make the most. And so working there, having a very energetic team lead, um, learning, she really taught me everything that I use until my last day. Work with the old stuff, get to the most important stuff first, get to the holes first. I was writing everything down. She was a fantastic leader to me. Yeah, she said some, inappropriate things. Yeah, she got a little, loud with management every now and then. But I feel like she really taught me everything that I need to know and everything I could take to move up. I think she was saying like she used to work like the demos where they hand out food, and she was like, she told me she moved up in the demo section in like 6 months of her working there. I was like, okay, wow. Um, but I really, then you learn other people that you're working with. Oh, this person's a little bit more lazy. Oh, this person and the team lead and the my team lead at that time and the deli team lead or cafe, I don't know, I think she was deli. They had like a riff going on, and it was just like so crazy dealing with that, the attitudes. Get your stuff and leave. Put their stuff on a pallet and ship it over to them. Back then, actually, I don't think I got a lot of crazy questions from customers as much as I did after we came back from overnight. And overnight, when I came back from overnight, I'll get to that in a few seconds. It was like 2019 ish, right before, yes, right before 2020. I'm trying to think. I don't remember. I think it was summer. Yeah, I think it was summer 2019. They ended the overnight. And that's when, like, I noticed, oh, people are on their phone walking around talking very loudly. Oh, you're asking me a really stupid question, like, where is the water when the water is right in front of you? You're getting an attitude with me because I don't understand what your question is. Like, the customers, especially in the, just like I keep saying, I think it was just that area. The people were just like really annoying. Bunch of old people come in there, no help. Um, man, let me stay on track. So I'm doing what I'm doing in the freezer. I mean, in the cooler. I'm learning. And this was like one of the first things that I realized. Um, this company will change everything on the drop of a hat, at the drop of a dime, in terms of like, okay, these are the new rules. This is the new layout. Take everything out of this section and put it over there, and everything over there, put it over here. It would just be like these crazy layout changes, these crazy rule changes, these crazy, just wild. So this is the next thing I would talk about is a part of the company's regime, let's call it that, they will fire the entire management and go on about their day. That was the first time I came in one day. Yes, it was right after like the holidays. No, it was right after their inventory. I don't know if this is true or not, but they said they had I know they had fired about four managers. I think one might have quit. Like I said, the managers would quit all the time, the good managers. I think one manager left, and so she was overnight, and so one manager had to like go overnight forever. That's what it seemed like, forever. Um, the I remember, okay, the first management that I had there, the first store manager, I'm sorry, they fired her allegedly because she was stealing money from the company or from the store or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but I remember it was like something with her stealing. But I don't understand how she was stealing, and like that's a part of her resume, right? And she ended up getting a job like a couple years later across the street at Home Depot. So it was very confusing about that situation. And like maybe that was just a crazy rumor somebody made up. One of the team leads was stealing time. She got fired. I was like, I know what, she got fired. Yeah, she got fired. Another team lead, she was like the front end team lead. She like left. Um, she left. Okay, but anyways, they would just go in and fire everybody, bring in all these random new people, and that's what it was. So, um, and then they would switch around their position. Oh, you're in the front end. You would go to bakery. And it would just be like random weird changes like that. And I was just like, that's when I learned, oh, being a manager kind of sucks here. Because not only are you here for you're here for like 11 hours a day, I think, like 2 to 11, 4 to like 3, 4 to 2. Not only there, but they do get their vacation time. They get like a week vacation. But like, you can be changed around, you can be fired. I was just like, yeah, it really sucks being a manager here. That's what I learned. Like, yeah, management sucks. I don't get it. It would be weird. So then I'm doing my thing, learning the groove, learning how to like take stuff out of the system and really like learning the job because I know I can learn anything. And being there at a young age, not having a whole lot of work experience, just having like dedication. And that's really what kept me there, dedication, the possibility of growing, but I was very specific about where I wanted to grow at. I didn't grow so much, but I learned a lot. I learned so much. And I think that's one of the most important things as I'm like moving forward in employment. Um, and what I've learned here, what I learned there, I can definitely take somewhere else because I think pretty much everything is the same in a sense. They just, you might call it something different or you might do it just a slightly different way. But I'm like, I'm trying to take these, these things that I've learned and go on. So, anyways, I'm doing my thing. And so everybody got fired. And I think it was around like Christmas time. almost Christmas time. Yeah, it was after summer because the summer had passed, and the main guy overnight doing the freezer, he was being transferred out. And my manager at the time, after the big switcheroo of management, my manager, really good manager, she was like, I need you to go overnight. And I was like, what? I was like, okay, cool. Sure, I'll do it. I'm like 21, 22, probably 22. I'm 22. Yeah, I'll do it. Um, did I move out yet? I think I moved out. I was um I was on my first car. No, I think I was on my second. No, I was on my second car by then. Or my first car was going out. Yeah, I think my first car was like going out and I didn't know it. Weird. But I was like, yeah, I'll go overnight. It was full time. I think it was a little pay bump. I had no idea what I was getting. I can just say, but now overnight is not for me. And it wasn't the job that was difficult. It was a whole different energy at night. The night crew came in at like 9, 10 o'clock ish. Doors locked. You're locked in there. Um, Forklifts going back and forth. They're running stuff. Attitudes not that bad. A lot of more freedom. Um, Very relaxed, but make sure you get your job done. Um, I came in to that freezer and I changed it around based off of what my team lead taught me. Get the old stuff. There was like a bunch of old stuff in there that needed to come out. Um, I think I got like employee of the month after that because I picked up on what was needed to be done. I cleared that freezer out, and I got employee of the month. But like I said, the job wasn't difficult. It was the overnight situation that I don't like. I'm like, maybe I need to do it again to make sure I don't like it, but I don't really want to do it again because I could never get a sleep pattern going on. And I think I did it for like, let me think, 16, 17, 18. So it was like almost a year and a half, I think. Or maybe a year. Like it just disrupted my whole situation. I was talking to the HR lady, or there was an HR, and I was just like, I don't know if I really want to do this. She's like, well, you're on the schedule for like 6 weeks or something like that, or 4 weeks or something like that. After that, you need to make up your mind if you want to do it or not. Because I'm just like, I'm sleeping away the whole day. I don't have a life. I was like, 22, 21, doing a little something to like, I'm sleeping away the entire day. I would like I would get there at 9 and I would get there at 9, work, 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 be okay, the adjustment, getting adjusted, then leave at like 6, 7, sometimes 7 at the latest, and sleep the entire day. I remember Aretha Franklin's funeral happened, and I would just doze in and out of it. I tried to stay up to watch it and then go back to sleep, trying to go back to sleep. Because I'm like, I haven't slept enough. A friend was like trying to give me advice. I'm like, well, your advice isn't working. So stop badgering me about it. You just because you're not doing this, you need to do this and then do that and then go to sleep. And then I'm just like, oh my gosh. I hate it overnight. And then somebody, I remember the good doctor on YouTube, Lil Joyce Berkshire. She was saying people who work overnight is not healthy for you. And I'm like, I agree. Overnight sucks. And I don't even know if I got like a pay increase for working overnight. I was just like, okay, I got benefits. I'm full time. I'm making some PTO. The PTO was really good at that time. I was like working and I would always work. I would just work, 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 work. And then I would like realize, oh, I should probably take a break. So I'm dependable. I'm a Virgo. I'm a hard worker. I know what I'm doing when I'm doing it. And I remember like the first vacation I wanted to take, it was like a weekend. And I was going to go to Southern Louisiana. I was supposed to go to this jambalaya festival with a friend. And so um, the management was freaking out. They're like, who are we going to get to cover you? Because you do such a great job. And I'm just like, if by the time, 3, 4 years ago, I was just like, y'all will be fine. Then I think I was like, oh, I don't know. Okay. So what I would always do is try to make sure everything was okay. So when whoever they send in to help that area, they wouldn't have to do so much until I get back. That's what I would always do. I would always try to make sure my area was covered. If I was going to be off for a certain amount of days, make sure certain things were where they needed to be. If you need to get to them, easier access. Because I knew that area like the back of my hand. And so I'm trying to think if it's anything. So working overnight. So I ended up like going to the Southern Louisiana. Great trip, except I slept away the entire trip because I just could not. I was like, oh, I'm gonna get this. We're gonna go at a certain time. I went to sleep and like never woke up at the appropriate time. Went to like Buffalo Wild Wings. I got like wings. I was just like, oh Lord, this is horrible. It was pretty horrible. Um, but then I noticed the the staffing was getting short. I don't think they were firing people, but I think people were quitting. And it was just hard to find good people to work there. Reasonable people to work. That's what I just remembered the most. It was just so hard to find reasonable people. So I went from just doing my area to helping out in another area, helping out drinks, helping out sodas, helping out. Um, I don't think I've ever done like seasonal stuff. Maybe like chips or something like cookies aisle or something like that. Flour dropping, putting out stuff because it would just be like short staffed all the time and it would just be so weird. And then we got a new manager. And this new manager, he they said he was on drugs. They said he was on like cocaine. No, no. They said he was on something. He was always be sniffing and his eyes would all be bloodshot red. He was just like the biggest fakester, phony person in the room. He's from Georgia, and he was like, I'm from Georgia and I'm here to change the store around. I don't know if that was his job, if that was his mission. I didn't understand that. But when he first got there, he was a weird tyrant. Um, I feel like he was always accusing people of things that weren't true. Um, he ended up not being, someone you wanted to just hang around. It would just be like these weird um, talk downs to people, to the entire people, to people, and then like the way he would talk to people. Yes, 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 yes. The way he would talk to people. I remember he's from Georgia. His family didn't like living in northern Louisiana, so I believe they ended up staying in Georgia. He ended up having this like weird affair with another store manager that was there, and they had an affair going on. Also, being overnight, I was exposed to a lot more different people, a lot more personalities. Some fun, some shady, some weird things going on. Oh, so one time they hired somebody to work a certain area, and she was working. I think she was working the cooler, and she ended up like dating or getting involved with this other guy, who I believe they had he and another employee. Let's call her TC. TC and L. Let's call him L. TC and L had like a prior. I think TC had a crush on L. Don't know why. And the girl, let's call her White. White and TC got into it one day. I don't remember what happened exactly, but they got into like a heated argument, and I think TC was like, "I will run you over with this forklift, White, if you keep effing with me." And so I believe TC took a restraining order out on White, and I don't know, something was like said like you can't work at the same place as you have a restraining order. So White ended up, quitting. That was crazy. Also, there was a team lead. Let's call him Black. So Mr. Black and an employee. I believe she was just. I think no. I believe she was a team lead in the daytime. Let's call her Green. Black was married with a couple of kids, or is married with a couple of kids, and it turned out that he was having an affair on his wife with Green, and they ended up having a baby. And so I'm like, oh, it's really going down at the club. It's really, really, really going down. I believe Black got fired because he was, I think right after COVID, he got sick, and I don't think he ever came back really. They said he was shuttling out mattresses and stuff out the back door to people. But yeah, no, I saw him in the post office, in a post office truck. So I'm like, oh, you got a pretty good job. Different job, but yeah, pretty nice, I guess, pretty decent. Um, Also Black, I remember Black, you weren't supposed to, they weren't supposed to be, I mean, it was obvious something was going on, but management kept turning a blind eye until they couldn't. And so I remember they hooked up these cameras outside, and he went outside because she pulled her out back. He went outside to see her, and they were like kissing and stuff. I think she had quit. I think Green had quit. And like she would come in there, and it would just be kind of like funny, awkward, like, oh, you're having a baby with this man, and just so weird. Crazy stories. I remember like, oh yeah, I'm like, I need to get into the good stuff. But yeah, the store manager, Mr. Meany, Mr. Brown, let's call him Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown, he was just like horrible management. He would be like it would be inventory time, and instead of counting the correct, he would just throw stuff away. Um, I think one time he got like a trailer, a U-Haul or something, or it was like a U-Haul or like a big trash. You could rent a trash can or trash thingy. and he would just be throwing stuff out of the system and throwing stuff out of the store, like quote unquote cleaning it up. But it was just like, you need this for your inventory, and his inventory was horrible. But the only reason why, because I noticed like, yeah, the store managers, they go in and out every like, couple of years. I was told the only reason why he was there for the longest is because of the pandemic, and that was the worst thing ever. So on the next series, the next talk, I'll talk about the pandemic and working in the pandemic. But Black was, I mean, Mr. Brown was just like a tyrant. And I remember one time he was literally insulting a manager, right? We were having a staff meeting, and he was insulting the manager. I think he said something like, he was like, A and B. Manager A and B are with us, and he was insulting Manager A because he was like, Manager A doesn't do this, this, and this, and that. But if you go to Manager B, he does this, this, and this, and that. And I vividly remember that day. And it was just like, you're embarrassing this man, you're insulting this man. And I'm just like, oh, we can't say anything about this. Like, it would just be so weird. The things people do, and I'm just like, you guys need to be accountable the way you want to try to keep us accountable as employees. Like, you want to keep us in check, but who's keeping you in check? That's a really main reason that I have with the first manager that I talked about. Like, she was just horrible. She and him were like the worst managers in the 10 years. And I'm just like, who is keeping you guys accountable? There's no way you could be talking to us like that, talking to us about us. When my manager, when he first came in and they were hiring people, one of the lazy guys, I'll get into that. Also, they were hiring people, and my manager, she told me, she was like, oh, he said, he doesn't want us to hire any like thugs or any people who like wear baggy clothes or something like that, stuff like that. And I was just like, oh, she's like, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but I'm telling you this. I'm like, yeah, because that's illegal to say. That's illegal to say out loud and to say to your manager who to hire. That's discrimination. She's like, we're in the South. People wear baggy clothes. People wear hats. Like, and I'm just like, he's from Georgia. Like, where the hell does he? Where is he from? I think he's from originally like Detroit or something. It was just like the craziest stuff that got said, and nobody like held people accountable. It would just be so weird. Um, they hired a couple of people with me, and I'm not the best trainer. I'm really not the best trainer. I'm a great worker, but as far as training people, I think I would need a guide. Like, if I had a guide, I could probably like explain stuff better. But one girl, I think her name was Jada. I think she was related to somebody in the building. She was slow as molasses, and uh, I'd be like, okay, whatever. They hired one guy with me. He was great, but he was going to school and he was becoming tired, and it was just be like a conundrum. I was just like, okay, whatever, I'll just do the work. Then they hired this other guy, um, Baldy. It was cool at first, but once we transferred over to like the day, like it was cool, bonding over like the craziness of the job, and we're in the freezer. After we moved from overnight, things got crazier. So I'm working with Baldy. I think Jada had quit or eventually quit, and I don't remember what happened with Baldy, but Baldy just stopped talking to me, and I don't have time for that. I'm just like, I'm over it. I'm not here to figure things out. If you don't want to talk to me, I don't want to talk to you. There will just be like tension, and I was so glad when they finally fired him because he was not doing. He would come in late. He wouldn't do a whole bunch of work. He would constantly go on break. He would take longer lunches and longer breaks. And I'm just like, dude, we just need to work and get this stuff out. And it's just like whatever he wouldn't finish would just be like more work for the next day. And it was just like, you're not helpful anymore. He was older, thought he was the shit, but I'm just like, maybe here you are. Maybe here that he was the shit. So they ended up cutting overnight, which I was like happy, glad. But it was like this weird schedule that they had. I don't think, yeah, overnight was okay. Like, there was nothing real besides, the fighting and then people quitting constantly, the stress of the job getting to some people. When corporate would come, oh my God, when the higher ups would come to the store, they were just like these brand new people that cared so much about cleaning, they cared so much about everything looking good. But a random Tuesday wouldn't they wouldn't give a fuck. And that would just be like the most annoying thing. The thing about the worst thing that would happen, you would have us sit here and zone all day. I don't know what is wrong with my voice. We would sit there and zone all day in the store, in the store, as if people have not been in there shopping all day. Corporate would come, and sometimes corporate wouldn't come. So it's like, who's telling you, who's giving you guys these tips, these false advertisements, these false tips where you're worried about your job? Like, nigga, your job isn't going anywhere. You're not getting fired. Um, and so we would sit there and zone all day. And then, when it would be time to close and time to work, there wouldn't be anything to do. It would just be like such a weird, I never understood the whole, like, you need to zone, you need to make the store look like it hasn't been touched. And it's like 3 o'clock, it's 4 o'clock, it's 5 o'clock, and the people are quote unquote on their way. They're getting off the plane. Oh, they're in this city and they're on their way from that city. I would just be like, sometimes, like I said, sometimes the people wouldn't even come. And that, I still don't understand that. Um, I don't know. And then the corporate people would like switch up their jobs. This person is out and this new person's in, and they have a whole new set of rules. And I would just be like, oh my God, we need to make sure it's looking like this and looking like that. And this can't look like that. And make sure this sign is up and make sure it's clean over here. And make sure you break down the ice. And it's just be so exhausting. And I'm like, y'all are not paying with the amount of work. Like, do you want me to stock or do you want me to be a part of maintenance? But anyways, when they ended overnight, I was so glad. But then they had like these different shifts and they would be called block schedule. And on the block schedule, it would be like 3 to 11 and then like 4 to 12 or something. And then the mid shift would be like 1 to 8. And um, because I really don't understand why I was put on, because I was in a fresh area, I was not supposed to be on the block schedule that I was on. And it was like 3 to 11:30 or something. It was cool. It was cool once you get into it. It was okay. I'll say it was okay. I wasn't a morning person. I'm not a morning person, so I wasn't really trying to get the morning shift. But the thing was, a couple of times throughout my, working there, my schedule got changed. So I'm like, my dentist appointments need to be changed. My whole life, would have to be adjusted. Dentist appointments, doctor appointments, getting my hair done, like things. would change, and it would be like no sympathy and no trying to work with you, and it's just be just like taken advantage of. I'm doing all this work, and now my whole like off days are changed, and I got to come in at a different time. I was not supposed to come in at 3 to 11, but because of, I think the crazy baldy manager, he didn't know what he was doing, and I got lumped in with I got lumped in with like the rest of the crew. And that shifted was crazy because it would be the store would close around 8 o'clock. And so you have 8 to 11:30 to stock, drop, and roll and get it started. I think it was okay staffed at that time because they were like eliminating positions. They eventually eliminated the HR position, which was interesting. I was just like, what do you mean? So then, like, I guess I believe the managers became sort of HR, dealing with hiring, firing, that type of thing. I think they eliminated drug testing and stuff like that. It was interesting how things just changed. Um, so yeah, and then because they were like the whole reason why they eliminated overnight, they were saying there weren't enough people in the daytime there for the customers. And I was just like, oh, okay. And then the 6 a.m. shift would have 6 to I think 7. No, 4. It would be a 4 a.m. shift, 4 to 7 or 4 to 6. I mean 4 to 8 to get the store ready. Eventually, things got, and you got into your groove of things eventually. But the pandemic really put a damper on that eventualliness. Um, Let me finish this. So I was not supposed to be on the 3 to 11 shift, like I said, because I heard one time my manager came up to me and she was like, I came from a meeting with other managers or training or something. And I was just like, yeah, we have a guy, he works fantastic. He works the 3 to 11 and it helps a lot. It did help a lot, but I was not supposed to be on that shift. So about a year ago, a year before I left, I think, they changed my shift to what it was supposed to be, and they knew I was not supposed to be on that shift, but they were forced to by their boss to make sure everybody was on the correct block schedule, and that really pissed me off because I'm like, y'all know I wasn't supposed to be on here. And now you're forcing me to not be on here. That's really when I started tweaking out. That's when I really started to fade away because I'm like, to not care so much. You want me to come in? I might, but I'm not going to do everything you ask because you can't work with people. You guys don't know what you're doing. You're not up to date with the technology. You're not trying to make an effort to be nice, to be like accountable. Nobody's accountable until they have to be by their random management. There's a new manager, so we got to act new. What is that? Let me turn the light on. Oh no. What the heck was that? Because I don't have an ice machine. So it would just be like, nah, I'm not gonna continue to be trampled over. Because I'm a good worker and I know what I'm worth. And you guys are not worth it anymore. And so that shift to overnight, like I said, that shift from, going overnight to working in the daytime, dealing with these people. And that's when I really realized, like I said, these people were just, these customers were just so nasty and so ditzy. And so if it was a snake, it would have bit me. Like I heard that like twice a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week. And it's just like, It's right in front of you. Why is grandma in here alone? Where is grandma's tribe? Where's grandma's grandsons and grandchildren to help her shop? Why are you on the phone walking around on speaker? Why are you having an attitude? Why do you smell like a fresh joint? Why do you smell like a cigarette that you just lit? It was just be like the craziest things. Like really, honestly, it felt like time had. It felt like I had like walked into a whole another world, and that was in like 2019. Yeah, that was 2019. I, I don't know where I walked into, but it was just like a whole nother world. Things would like leave the store and they would be so mad about it. And it's just like, well, it was seasonal or, we're just out of it or whatever, whatever. And it's just like, you guys, I get it. You're paying a membership for the club, but you guys act like this is like life altering. Sometimes I did understand when they would say it was life altering because certain things, staples that the store has sold, people would be like, I've been buying this here for 20 years for my business. Now I don't know what I'm going to do. That I understood. When staples for your businesses, because at the end of the day, it is a bit of a business um, shopper. If you have a business, it's shopping friendly. But like, you and your 10 kids come in here every day. What do you need to hear every day? And if we're out of chicken wings, it is not that big of a deal. Come back tomorrow. Check back tomorrow. Do you know when it's coming in? No, I don't. The system, then like that's the whole. The system says online. It says, well, online is wrong, sir. It's 2026. You should know by that by now. So that whole adjustment, trying to figure out how things worked, how we were gonna get everything done in like a short amount of time. Um, that was a crazy time. So the next part I'll talk about will be about the pandemic because that was a doozy, and that's when like a lot of changes happened, and it was unfortunate and such a weird time that I vaguely remember. I vaguely remember, maybe because I had to work. I actually had to go to work and shopping, and I wasn't like at home. I didn't have like a choice. Like I had to go to work. Okay, that's it. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.